Hello everybody and welcome to episode 4 of our Hidden Strength podcast with me, your host Jess Bays. Now this week we have Neev Spencer in the hot seat, DJ, writer, broadcaster and just all round amazing human being. We're going to be covering today everything from postnatal anxiety, depression, loss and grief from a very young age and just how Neev navigates the world dealing with all of those issues on a day-to-day basis. She is also a mental health campaigner, so I could not think of a more perfect person to have chat to us today. Enjoy, guys. Like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends, and don't forget to sign up to the app. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 4 of our Hidden Strength podcast. I have the incredible Neev Spencer with me today. British Asian DJ broadcaster, the first female, I think, female to get on to mainstream radio.
Yeah.
Mental health campaigner, so many strings to Neev's bow. I can't wait for you to listen and just pick her apart, basically.
Too many strings.
How are you? Good?
Really good, thank you. I'm so happy today. I'm most happy that you are in my basement.
Mate, look at this room. You guys can't see the other side. It's absolutely, I don't know how you leave. I bet this was a nice little spot for lockdown.
It's been our little saviour, our little soundproof heaven.
I bet it has. So tell me about you. Where did your journey begin into this industry, I guess, mentally as well? Like where did you first touch on anything that was troubling for you, I guess? Maybe, I know you said you lost a friend when you were younger. I guess that was probably hard to manoeuvre your way around at 16.
Yeah. So I was really lucky. I had like really loving parents. You know, I had everything I could want growing up. But I had parents that were unhappy. My parents had an arranged marriage, and I kind of grew up in a bit of family breakdown, you know, unhappy parents where you kind of feel like you're responsible constantly.
I lived through a divorce as well, so I understand how tough it is.
You really learn very early on how you have to find that inner strength within you. Yeah. Because when you feel like you are responsible for everyone's happiness around you, it's quite a burden as a kid.
Oh, massively, especially at that age.
Yeah, so I think quite early on, I started to find that the hurdles that were coming my way was something I was kind of ready for in a way, even though I was very young. And in my teens, sadly, so tragically, my best friend at the time got mixed up in the worst kind of drugs you could ever find. Yeah. And for 10 years, she battled addiction, and we lost her in my mid-20s. Wow. And it was devastating, because you carry a lot of guilt when you feel like you can't fix people and you can't help them.
This is the problem with addictions. It's not something that we've touched on yet on these podcasts, but it's something that we will be doing. It's just, you lose the person in it, and it's so sad. It's such an illness. It's heartbreaking. Yeah. I have one of my mum's friends was kind of the same, and I think she committed suicide in the end from it. It's so sad to watch somebody go down that road, especially when it's somebody you love so much.
It's devastating.
And especially at that age.
Yeah, because you're
that young.
You know, you're learning life at that age, and you know what your wrongs and your rights are if you're lucky enough to have been shown the right way. But when out of nowhere someone you care about more than anything is making the worst decisions of their life, and you just have to watch, that's really hard. Yeah. So I think that really, it changed my life experiencing that. Surprised. You know, from 16 to 26, that being my narrative, it really set me up for possibly being able to handle everything. Yeah. But I think I carried a lot of inner tragedy within me. I bet. And at 26, as it happens, she died, but I just got my biggest show on Kiss.
Oh God.
So there I was, you know.
Dealt both hands, really.
Yeah, both hands. I've already gone through trying to convince my parents, who are Indian, traditional Sikh people, that actually radio's a job.
Oh God, I know, same. When I first started, Mum used to say to me, we're going to get a real job yet, and here we are, we're a very successful lady.
Yeah. At the time, my dad would literally be just beside himself that he was like, why do you go out so late in the night? You're going out late in the night and you're all dressed up. I was like, I am not doing that. I'm not.
Oh my God.
You know, and it was really hard. I'd be like, no, I'm playing music. And he's like, doo-hoo. I don't know what he thought was going on, but he thought the worst thing. You're right?
So you were the first Asian British broadcaster on mainstream radio?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Amazing. At the time when I started out in my career, I just experienced so much discrimination, so much, there was so much racism at that point in time. We're talking 15 years ago, when I went to any mainstream station, they'd all look at me and be like, oh yeah, you're very, like, you're pretty brown, aren't you? Pretty much is what they were saying, you know? Like, they'd look at me and they'd go, yeah, we don't have an Asian show here.
You don't want an Asian show, you want a DJ. Like.
Yeah, I'm out every Friday night at Ministry watching the Z, my hero. Like, I love garage, I love dubstep, I love drum and bass. I don't sit at home in a sari, like doing Bollywood dancing around my house whilst cooking a curry. You know, so people found it really weird because they didn't know where to put me. They were like, she sounds proper British, she seems really British, but she's really brown. And so I found this hurdle. So Asian radio was the only place that hired me at the beginning.
Wow.
So I was on Sunrise and I was on Asian Star and BBC Asian Network. And don't get me wrong, it was great because I got practice.
Yeah, I bet.
Someone said to me very early on, it's about your miles. It doesn't matter what you do, you get air miles in radio.
Right, okay.
So you just want to fly. So if you can fly that desk and drive that desk, it doesn't matter where you're on air. So that was a massive hurdle at the beginning because I didn't want to do Asian shows, but I took my experience. I learned, I made amazing cups of tea for everyone.
That's a skill that it's going to take you through life very well.
And I was just polite and I took it all in. And then when I got to KISS, I actually came through KISS in the building as a producer of the Rishi Rich project, which was an Asian collective. So again, those doors opened for me because of my heritage. And then I was like, yeah, I'm here now. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. And so I was the first British Asian to get a mainstream radio show and market leader for like 12 years.
That's so incredible.
Yeah.
And didn't you have problems speaking about mental health, I guess? Didn't you have trouble bringing that subject up?
Absolutely. So back then, you just didn't talk about it.
No.
At all.
Like even when I was in school, it wasn't, if you struggled, like I had an eating disorder all through my teens and nobody knew. It was nothing that you didn't even speak to your mates about it.
No. You just did not disclose that information. And if you disclosed it, you were seen as weird.
Weak, everything that you're not.
Yeah, and you wouldn't get hired, you know. It was like you just didn't talk about it. And then me being Indian as well, it's hugely a taboo in our community. So I just didn't say anything. And what happened then is you're just burying stuff.
Yeah.
You're emotionally just dumping it all, you're swallowing, it's going down and down and you're not actually dealing with it. I'm kind of surprised when I look back that I was such a happy presenter on air for all those years on KISS because I was genuinely struggling with anxiety on a daily basis.
Well, that's the downfall of our industry. We just know how to put a smile on, and
totally.
When we're often very, very struggling, like when we did Hannah once, she was battling breast cancer.
Yeah.
I toured with her and I had no idea. Like,
wow.
I had no clue that twice she battled it. And she put that front up, went out, smiled. The day she had the diagnosis, she went out to a tour.
Do you know
how do you do that? That's some inner strength.
That is like warrior female power.
It's very spiritual as well. So
and I think it comes from the fact that we're not allowed to be vulnerable as women.
No,
we're not
at all.
We're all being hired by, let's be honest, the majority are men.
Yeah.
The men are making the decisions, whether it's in radio, whether it's in TV, whether it's in promotion for events and festivals. And so you've got to be one of the boys.
100%.
And that means no crying. Boy, it's just a big boys club. No crying, no vulnerability.
Have you experienced any like sexist stuff? Yeah.
Loads. So when I started DJing back in the day, there weren't loads of female DJs. There were female DJs coming up, but there were few and far between. And men that would book me would think, oh yeah, you're a female DJ. Oh, cool, all right. And I literally had people say things to me like, will you wear something sexy for me when you come to my club?
Oh,
and I'm like, do you want me to punch you in the face when I arrive?
It's insane when I look back at some of the press shots from like 10 years ago of female DJs, they're way more like, they are very sexy, there's less clothes.
Yeah.
But now all of us, look at us, baggy t-shirts, like everything. Everything's covered. We're not here for that.
Yeah, it's taken us a decade to feel comfortable in who we are and for everyone around us to accept the fact that we are women. And
there's so many strong girls though in the industry coming up now, it's female empowerment, and I feel so proud of all of us.
Absolutely. But it took some paving of the way for that to be done.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning it all was, will you DJ in a bikini? Can you bring your girls down? I'll give you a nice table. Little things like, you know, club owners meeting you and then taking you into their office, and you're like, why am I here?
What am I here for?
What are we doing now? This isn't my rider. Security.
So I guess your next journey was parenthood, having babies.
Yes.
And yeah, I know postnatal depression was on the cards for you.
Yes.
How the hell did you navigate your way around that?
You know, it's one of these things where we had wanted children for so many years, but my lifestyle wasn't allowing it.
No.
I was doing like high pressured radio every day. I was DJing every Thursday and Friday, Saturday night, all around the country.
You kind of have to pick career or family, don't you?
Yes.
It's what I want to have children.
Good.
When do I find time?
Yeah, you've got time.
Hope so.
Yeah, you've got time.
Hope so.
And I think what usually tends to happen with women is you get to the peak of your career and then you get pregnant, or that ends up being what happens, because once you can put a huge tick next to something, there's only one thing left usually in this life, and it's to be a mother.
Yeah.
And for me, the career had happened and I had the career highs and the headlines, but I really wanted to be a mum. And once I finally understood that I needed to just calm down a bit and be less out there with running around in this flight or fight mode, I was in it all the time.
Totally.
So my body wasn't ready to fall pregnant, even though my mind desperately wanted to be. Once I figured that out, and we got pregnant, we were so happy. But what I didn't realise is years of battling anxiety meant that through my pregnancy, I was very anxious.
Yeah.
Very worried about the baby.
Of course.
Very worried about my position in the industry, because there aren't a lot of female presenters, solo presenters, who aren't co-hosts, who aren't part of a team, that are running things in radio. And I'd spent 10 years carving out this place
to
for
get
myself.
to where you are for it might to well, look at Annie Mac, she's just stepped away now, hasn't she, to actually just be a mum.
Yes.
I've got nothing but respect for it.
Yes.
Do your thing.
You can't, you can do the juggle, and it's where women, we can multitask.
Yeah.
We have that power within us, but you get to a point where your priorities shift.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I knew that motherhood had to be at the top of my list.
Oh, 100%.
But the anxiety was still there, and I think it's because I was sensing a loss of identity. I knew my radio show was sort of slipping away from me.
Yeah.
I was Neev on Kiss. I was a radio presenter and a DJ. What else was I?
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was going to be as a mum, and that took some adjustment. And I've been really open to talk about, the struggles I went through with postnatal anxiety, not depression. I wasn't depressed because I had my baby.
Yeah.
I was anxious for her safety. I wasn't sleeping enough. And when you don't sleep, your anxiety goes through the roof.
It's the biggest thing for me. If I'm not sleeping properly, I am an absolute mess.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's a huge trigger. As a human being, every day we have these sort of intentions that we set to motivate ourselves through those days that we need.
Yeah.
But if you don't sleep enough, it's the most simple thing.
It's so bad.
Everything goes out the window.
Our sleeping patterns are not normal for when we're touring and stuff like.
No.
If it wasn't for lockdown, I wouldn't have respected sleep so much, because I've been able to have so much of it.
Yeah, literally.
Too much of it.
Yeah, it's like medicine for your mind, and I say that with all the mental health work that I do. It is medicine for your mind. It's
let's talk about that. Do you think do you do the mental health charities and stuff because you have gone through all of this crazy things in your life now? It's kind of the same as why I'm doing this. You want to make good of a bad situation.
Totally, absolutely. I mean, I feel like every single tragedy or thing that I've experienced in the last sort of 20 years of kind of being an adult, if I didn't put in time to give back, it just wouldn't heal me.
Agreed.
And it doesn't come from a selfish place of like, oh, I'll do this and I'll feel better. You just know that the more good you do, the better you feel.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're like, wow, this is an amazing feeling, because just knowing that I've helped this one person by telling them that I was there, I had suicidal ideation, I felt that way.
Yeah.
That is so empowering, because people, when they see someone who's together, strong,
100%,
successful,
100%.
They don't imagine that we can feel that way, and when we tell them that they do it,
at least 50% of the messages on my socials are not about music. They're about people saying thank you for being honest about what you struggle with.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy inside.
Yeah.
That you're helping somebody else when you're just being. I'm not one for all of this fake life online. Just, you need to see the good and the bad in what someone's going through.
Absolutely. I actually really struggle with that still, because I've been brought up by parents who have very high standards.
I can imagine.
Quite normal in our community, because
100%.
they moved to this country with nothing.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of expectation on our shoulders of
it's all
what
about
we
like
should
pride
do.
and stuff, isn't
Yeah,
it? Like,
so we have to sort of elevate the hopes and dreams that they didn't have for themselves because they had to emigrate here. So as ethnic minority people, we kind of have this on our shoulders just setting off into adulthood. And it's really difficult because you make decisions that you want to do that make your heart sing, but you have a lot of pressure from back home and from your parents as well. And it's very difficult to kind of marry together what is right for you and what is right for your community. And I think that is so much about that hidden strength that you have within yourself just to follow your own lead, you know, and be true. But that thing you were just saying there of just being honest, like I still struggle with that. I feel like I have to be perfect online.
Do you know what? I understand it, and I often do worry that I'm a bit too open, but then I feel like
it's so good.
Yeah, it is.
It's where I want to be.
I wouldn't want to do anything else other than that, you know?
It's so powerful. I'm like, makeup has to be done, lashes have got to be on.
Yeah.
I have to play the part. I'm like, I've got to play the part and I have to appear to, and that is something, I'm on a journey of self-love. Like I'm figuring that out now.
Good.
Because I've got 2 girls, you know, I want to bring my children up.
Got to teach them right.
Yeah, I've got to teach them right.
The lady who started this whole app, Hidden Strength, Lindsay, she also said the same. She was worried that like her girl, she wants to do the best for her girls too. And I understand. Yeah. I think I might be the same when I have babies. Like, I just want, because for me it's going to be hard. We can't just naturally conceive a baby. We've got to go through all of this madness to have a child.
Yes.
And I often worry about not having a male figure, especially if we have a boy. Like, how is that going to affect the child? And is he going to get bullied in school because he's got 2 mums? Like, you just don't know how the world is going now at the minute. I think it's a really scary place right now.
It is a scary place, probably because of how we are in terms of rhythmically coming out of this pandemic.
Yeah.
But in terms of openness, I think we're in the best place we've ever been.
Yeah.
In terms of acceptance of anyone's culture, background, sexual orientation. And that will only be so much more so by the time your little uns end up growing up. You know, you can feel confident in that things are changing all the time. But that's just a part of the anxiety of the wanton dreams of being a parent, you know.
Do you think anxiety is like the biggest thing you struggle with?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. I have a very overactive mind.
Yeah, I understand that totally.
And I find it hard to switch off. I find it hard to kind of just calm down and center. And that is a learning thing for me. Like I still can't let go when I meditate. I try so hard.
Oh, I was just going to ask about meditation. Yeah,
I try hard.
So do I.
But I haven't quite been able to go into that
when
place.
you really manage to, it's practice. It's practice with this, and I'm learning that, and it's so difficult because we've got so much going on in our lives. It's like when you have a creative brain, I feel like it doesn't ever stop giving you ideas and new things to do and challenges and have you done this, and it's like it just overwhelms your life. Like you need to learn to shut it off. I think it's a really hard thing to do. Yeah. And there's so much pressure now, I think, for the young kids that are coming up, like, what do you want to do with your life? I think I didn't know I wanted to be a DJ until I was 23. Yeah. I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do.
Really? Just love music?
Just love music.
Yeah.
Didn't have a clue what I wanted to do at all. So on that note, what would you tell your younger self if little Neev could go back? What would you have told yourself?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would tell my younger self to believe in myself more.
Good.
And
I like that.
And know that the decisions that my heart are telling my head are the best decisions for me. Good. And that mum and dad will eventually come round because I'll meet the Queen.
Yeah. So true.
And then they'll be showing off and telling everybody that my daughter met the Queen. She went to Buckingham Palace. She looked so smart, don't you know? Right? So it all ends up, sorry mum and dad, it all ends up working out in the end.
That's a great bit of advice.
Just believe in yourself.
Just calm down.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.